Hey everybody, it's Leah. Hey, I actually did an interview for this discussion question about accountability with flexibility. And the two questions I wanted answered was what behavioral standards do you think would help a school run efficiently and effectively, and what changes would have to be made to the present policy for these things to occur? So I asked an assistant principal at the high school because not that at the elementary school where the level I'm at, these things don't exist. But I think when you get to the high school, you get moved into the scary things like weapons, drugs, attendance that is going to affect if you graduate or not. So, so here's my post, is that there's a lack of fitting consequences for addressing the worst of school rule violations and those who trend towards repeating the behaviors. And while there's alternative placements in our county for those that have maxed out the discipline matrix in a regular education setting, it maxes out at 45 days per semester. After that, the student returns back to the school system anew, and there's little follow-up intervention because honestly, they probably might meet with a school social worker, but the counselors are all working on letters of recommendation, scheduling, class issues, the smaller issues. So there's really not a lot of support to help a student remedy these behavior. But what the suggestion was is that the county would benefit from having a more intensive alternative placement for the more violent offenders, and this includes drug dealers, and that is a very large problem at the high schools. And the one that this AP came from is the most affluent high school in the county. And so these students, until their issues are resolved, they affect the safety, morale, and culture of the building negatively. So perhaps being able to extend the minimum time a student can spend at the alternative placement from 45 days to longer, or maybe to no limit of time. And so my point back to him was, well, how do those students get back? Because we can't just say you're gone and see you later, right? So he said that they could show it with good behavior or with, willingness to learn. I'm a little bit leery of that. And that's more because I don't think students value their free education, compulsory education. One last thing that he said was that students with IEPs cannot be suspended out of school for more than 10 days. And then multiple day suspensions have to have manifestation meetings that determine whether or not the behavior is a result of their disability. That's another thing I want to say. I saw as a school counselor, many of those manifestation meetings rarely is a manifestation of their disability. So back to the AP said that he believed that there should not be a rule for behaviors that put others in dangers like fighting and attacks, drugs and alcohol, things like that. And he said he understands some disabilities manifest themselves in less than positive ways and that the school should take this into consideration. But however, we should not be having students come back in because they have an IEP if they put others in danger. So I know we're not supposed to be draconian, but if I had in my perfect world how I would hold people to a higher standard is I would stop, and I know this is completely against what we're talking about, the compulsory free education. I think misbehaving students should be held accountable by not making education free. I think we should definitely make it freely accessible, and we should make it funded by all people's tax money. But we're forcing students into the schoolhouse with empty threats that attendance is compulsory. Well, here's the question. Is that compulsory attendance, is it de jure or is it de facto? There's so much pressure on all levels at the school to increase a student's attendance, but there's no teeth that back us up for parents to help make this occur. By making education a benefit of being an American citizen and not a not a given right, it would increase the value of education to students and parents. And then they would, of course, team up with us and get their butts to school because our education system is amazing. So when providing a free education to all students, it's set up to be a burden of those who don't value it. For some, it becomes a place of trauma and drama. By changing education to being something that you would work for, it's a way that we could make education worth something to all.